Hello everyone, welcome to EduTap and also welcome to another government scheme session. The scheme that we are covering today, it is Export Promotion Capital Goods Scheme. Okay, so this scheme has been asked by one of you only to have a lecture on, and also there are some important changes that have been made on 20th January 2023. So what are the changes and what is the scheme all about, we are going to understand in this particular session. But before starting, to our new audience who are preparing for the government regulatory bodies, we have come up with one-stop solution to all your queries. In these guidebook you will find everything that you have a question regarding the examination that you are preparing for, starting from the knowledge about institution, how does it contribute to Indian economy, after that what will be your role when you will join the organization, after that you would want to know about the syllabus, exam pattern, are you eligible or not. All these things are mentioned comprehensively with separate explanation for phase 1, phase 2 interview stage, and also at last we have 6 steps that you can follow to boost your preparation. So do not miss the opportunity. You can download these e-guidebooks free of cost from the link that is present in the description box. Now let's come to the scheme. So the scheme, it says export promotion. So we are talking about promotion of export. We want to promote our export. Why? Because see here, if we talk about India, we are becoming more self-reliant and we want to be global leaders. So to be global leaders, we should have that imprint all over the country, all over the world, right? So for global leadership, we want to set our name at every field, and so that we have this trade with all the countries. Okay, so we want to, for that we want to promote export. Okay, then we have for capital goods. Okay, what are capital goods? See, capital goods are the one which are not directly, these are such goods which are not directly used for used by the consumer for any purpose. These are the one that are used for some manufacturing of some other stuff, and then that product is used as a service by the consumer. It can be a service, it can be anything. Okay, that can be consumed by the consumer. Okay, so what are capital goods? These are the ones which further will add on to the manufacturing or production of something. Okay, and here we are talking about export promotion. So what this scheme is all about, see, for production of something, so that we can produce something, we can manufacture something, it can be any product also, it can be services also. Okay, then we have to export it. Okay, so for that we will be needing certain machineries or other capital goods, right? Now India, although it is focusing on self-reliance, but still it lacks for having more technology and ready to be sold parts in India. Okay, for that we have to take these capital goods from outside the country. Okay, now in that we have some custom duty that has been attached, and these duty are very high. These can be around 20 to 25%. Okay, so what the government has done, so to promote the export, to promote more and more manufacturing of products, goods and services in India, what the government of India has done, they have said, okay, what we can do, will either reduce, there are two categories, either reduce or we can make these custom duty to 0%, but there are some obligation that you have to follow. What obligation means? It means that in return you have to do something. We are talking about the manufacturing units. Okay, what they would have to do, we are going to understand, but I hope the concept is clear. What is this scheme all about? We have to improve our export. For that we'll be needing more manufacturing units in India. It can be for the production of some products or for the services, and for that we will be needing raw materials, you can say, or capital goods, we can say. Okay, so first we'll talk about how these custom duty are going to be affected by the products that are bought from the foreign market and then from the India also. Okay, but the basic idea is this only, to reduce the custom duty or to make it zero, so that people, they are more encouraged, or the manufacturing units, they are more encouraged to buy the capital products. Okay, this is the basic idea of this. Now let's come to launch year. So the launch year of the scheme is 1990. So in April 1990 the scheme was launched, but there are recent development of January 2023 only, and that is why it is important to learn about the scheme now also. It falls under Ministry of Commerce and Industry, and there's a specific department that is taking care of it, that is Directorate General of Foreign Trade. This scheme come under the Directorate General of Foreign Trade. Okay, I hope this is clear till now. Now what is the aim? So that is to facilitate the import of capital goods. The aim of this scheme is to facilitate the import of capital goods, and these capital goods will be used for producing quality goods and services in India, and then these quality goods and services can then further be exported, and we can have more foreign capital generated in India. Okay, that will come with the help of these export, and this will help the India's manufacturing competitiveness enhancement. Okay, because ultimately we want to be a global leader. So this incentive that has been given by the government, that will help in manufacturing competitiveness. They'll ask for, and they'll buy more and more capital goods for making better products and services. Now what are the key features? This is a very important slide. There is a lot of data that is present here. However, we are going to understand this in this session comprehensively, so there are no doubts. First of all, we have understood that duty free import of capital goods. What does this duty free import mean? 0% custom tax that will be associated with these capital goods, and these capital goods will be used for pre-production, production or post-production for the purpose of export production. What does it mean? We will take capital goods, these manufacturing units, they'll buy the capital goods at 0% custom duty. Okay, so there will be no, government is saying, okay, we will not charge any custom duty on it, or basically tax. In layman language, if I'll say, no tax will be charged for it, but there's an obligation. There is something that you, the manufacturing units, have to give in return. And now what is this? The export obligation is now, because we want to here enhance the export, right? So thereby the government says we will not charge anything from you as a tax, but in return, then what you have to prove? You have an obligation. And what obligation? Export obligation. How much you have to export? You will have to export equivalent to 6 times of duties, taxes and cess saved on capital good. What does it mean? That for example, whatever be the custom duty in that particular capital good, it was somewhere around 2 lakh. So what does it say? Or 1 lakh, we can say, for simple, 1 or 2 lakh. So then it says 6 times you have to then do the export on the tax that you have saved on capital good. Now this can be, 6 times means, of this means 6 lakh you have to then export, and if we say of 2, to 2 into 6 is equal to 12 lakh that you have to export. This is what the government says, and there's a time period also within which the manufacturing unit would have to do so, because then they can take many years, right? So that obligation is full. This shall be fulfilled in 6 years. What does it mean? From the date of issue of authorization. What does it mean? That whenever you take this incentive under the scheme, there will be a particular date. From that date till 6 years, you have to have an export obligation that is equivalent to 6 times of the money that you have saved on the capital good. The extra taxes that you may have to give, or extra duties that you may have to give otherwise, or the cess that is there. Okay, this is the obligation. Now in case of 3% custom duty, okay, there's one more here. Okay, so there are more, so I've taken all the slide because the animation was wrong. The authorization holder is required to fulfill average export obligation. First we have said that within 6 years, in 6 years you have to have 6 time export. Okay, you should do 6 time export of the money that you have saved. One point is this. Now second point is within half of the total time, which is what? Total time is 6 years, so within half means within 3 years, what you have to do? You have to fulfill average export obligation achieved by him in the preceding 3 years licensing for the same and similar products. Means at least within 3 years there will be a calculation that will be done, and here it is required to fulfill average export obligation. There should be, when after 3 years, that is half of the total years, when we will calculate, there should be a proper average export obligation should be there. Means that everything is going on smoothly, because we have said, see, we have said that overall in 6 years you have to provide with 6 times. Now someone can do that 4 years, they are not putting much efforts, and then now only 2 years are left, so they are then trying to reach this target, right? So that is why what the government has said, that within 3 years also there will be a proper evaluation that will be done, and in that there should be a average export obligation that must have achieved. It means that the company is on track, the manufacturing unit is on track, and they may achieve the target in 6 months, or the next 3 years, or in total 6 years. Okay, So I hope this is clear till now. And then if minimum, what there's one condition that first of all after 3 years, that is half of the total year, they'll check. Okay, and if the average is going fine, they are the government, they have no issue with it. And if the manufacturing unit, they are doing well, then they must be appreciated, right? So in such cases where minimum 75% of the specific export obligation has been achieved, so we are looking at that within 3 years, we are talking about within half of the year, within 3 years, half the original export obligation period, that is your 6 years. So within 3 years, if 75% of specific export obligation has achieved and 100% of the average export obligation has been achieved, then in such cases the remaining export obligation can be condoned, means it can be relaxed. Okay, then you don't have to be hard and fast follow this 6 times ratio, because you are already doing so well. Okay, so what does it mean? We'll have a quick revision over here only. So export obligation is in 6 years it should be 6 times. At 3 years, that is half of the total year, there will be an evaluation done, and we will look at that average export obligation should be fulfilled. It is kind of, this is has been done so that even the manufacturing units, they have this pressure on themselves to perform well, because they have taken this cess or this incentive from the government, right? And if they are performing very well, if the specific export obligation is 75% minimum or more than that, and average export obligation is 100%, then the leverage, they have leverage for the next 3 years. I hope you have understand it in a very simple terms. Okay, now in such cases, because we have understood, see, the custom duties are somewhere around 20 to 25%, and some capital goods, they can be very expensive, so it's not conducive for the government to just leverage 100%, make it 100% tax free or duty free. So in such cases, what has been done, 3% custom duty has been put on that. Okay, one thing we have to understand, there are, see, because we are talking about capital goods, there can be a lot of it, so we need not to go deep down in that. You just have to understand this basic percentages that are present here. Okay, so in case of 3% custom duty, in such cases where the government is taking 3% government custom duty, there the obligation is for 8 times of the duty. What? 8 times of the duty. In case of 0%, what we have looked at, 6 times for 6 years. Now in such cases where 3% custom duty that has to be offered by the manufacturer unit, in such cases 8% of duty on the capital goods, that is a export obligation. Okay, means 8 times you have to provide, and this has to be fulfilled in 8 years. What does it mean? We'll have two comparison. For 0% or the duty free import, in such cases 6 times in 6 years. In case of 3% custom duty, we have 8 times you have to pay. The farmer not the farmer, the manufacturer have to export it 8 times of the duty that has been saved in 8 years. Okay, pretty much clear. I hope there's no confusion. Now in case of indigenous sourcing, what if the capital good that the manufacturer is taking from outside, it is also already been built in India? What does it mean? For example, there is some machine, because the manufacturer will have will do not have to pay the taxes if they take it from foreign land. Of course the manufacturer will prefer that only, but that in that case, what will happen, the indigenous sourcing that will be affected, right? And also because of that, what would happen, the indigenous sources will also be suffered, of course. And that is why the government have said that if you are buying from indigenous sourcing, then in that cases, what will be done, the export obligation is only 75% of the amount that have been saved on that particular tax. Because see, even if you're buying from India, even if you're buying from foreign, tax you have to pay, custom duty, excise duty, that you have to pay, right? Now if you are buying from indigenous sources, you would not have to pay that duty or the cess, whatever that has been provided at the government in that particular capital good at that particular time. But whatever be the tax, we'll just keep it simple, whatever be the tax that needs to be given in addition to that particular machinery, the manufacturer will not have to give that. And also there the obligation is 75%. Okay, not the 6 time. Here somewhere it is around 4.5%. Okay, so you are looking the difference. So it is more profitable for the manufacturer to buy from the from indigenous sourcing only, because then they have to provide with 4.5 times. And for the units located in northeast region and Jammu Kashmir, the specific export obligation is only 25%. What does it mean? For such manufacturing units which are in Northeast region and Jammu Kashmir region, so there is more leverage to encourage people to establish their manufacturing unit. So for them, you have said, if you are establishing your manufacturing unit and if you are taking whatever benefits that are under this scheme, for you the export obligation is just 25%. In case of indigenous sourcing, we are looking at 75%, and in other case from the foreign land, we have already looked at how it's 6 times and 8 times of the duty that have been saved. But if you are the manufacturer from the Northeast region and Jammu Kashmir region, it is 25%. So that is all about the scheme, and this is a very important news that we have to understand today. And see, whatever revision we have already done while doing the particular slides, because we were repeating the same things so that you can understand in a proper way. Now the Indian government, it is of 20 January 2023, quite latest news. The Indian government has announced a one-time relaxation for maintaining average export obligation. See, we have to understand. We have said, okay, that within 6 years or 8 years you have to provide with the you have to meet a target, you have to reach a target. What if they have failed to do so? In such cases, what the manufacturer can do, they can either ask for relaxation. So within 6 months of the time period till when they have to reach the target, before 6 months to that, prior 6 months to that, what they can do, they can make an appeal to the government that please give us some extension to meet this target. Okay, and one is this case, and if you fail to do so, then there is a obligation of 10,000 rupees, okay, that you have to pay for it. Okay, so here what the government is saying, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, there were a lot of because every sector was affected, right? So here what the government is saying, that there is a one-time relaxation. And what is this relaxation? It is only for specific sector. Which are these sectors? These are hotel, hospitality sectors, your healthcare and educational sectors. Only in these sectors this leverage has been provided, one-time relaxation. Okay, and here we are saying, and here also for the year 2021-22, and there is a time period that they have assigned. Here it is February 1, 2022 to 31st March 2022. What does it mean? It means that to whoever manufacturing unit or the service provider, for example, we are looking at educational sector. So whoever the manufacturing unit or the service provider, they had taken the incentive under this scheme from the time February 1st, 2020 to 31st March 2022, because here we are looking at 2020 when the COVID it had hit in a larger extent, right? So if they fall within this time period, so there is a one-time leverage, so there is some extension to the time period that they were provided, and this extension is without any additional charges that will be taken. Okay. And for other sectors, so for hotel, healthcare and educational sector, we have looked at that whoever has taken incentive from 1st February 2020 to 31st March 2022, there will be there will be no additional fees that will be charged in K, and also there is a relaxation or extension that has been provided, okay, to extend the export obligation period. And next, if we talk about for other sectors other than hotel, healthcare, educational sector, for them the export obligation period may be expanded for the number of days the existing export obligation period falls under. So for them the categories only for the number of days that falls under February 1st, 2020 to 31st July 2021. Only for that time period there is some concession that will be given. On that note, what will be done? There is some extension that may be provided, but they have to for them there is an obligation without payment of the composition fee, so you don't have to pay that, but with a 5% additional export obligation. So whatever obligation that they had, we know 6 times it is, but it can differ from manufacturer to manufacturer, right, depending on how much concession that the person has get. So for them it is what 5% additional export obligation is then, whatever be the amount that they have to the target that they have to meet, 5% more will be should be done by them. They will be given extension, but they will also have to have met 5% additional export obligation. Okay, I hope this is clear. See, it can happen that you have taken you were under you were the beneficiary under the scheme before 2020 also. For example, you were beneficiary from 2019, so for that year you had a good production that you have done, and you had you were regular with your target. Then this phase arrived, that is of 1st February January 1st 2020 to 31st March 2022, and in that you had you did not had a constant growth. Okay, so whatever time period that will come under that under this period, that for on that basis extension will be provided. Now in case of hotel, healthcare and educational sector, the extension will be there and no additional target or the fees that will be asked for. But for the sectors other than these, for them extension will be there. But here if you're looking at the difference, time period difference is there. For these three sector it is 31st March 2022, while for other it just 31st July 2021 only. Okay, and after that also extension will be granted if they fall for whatever time whatever days are between this time period, but they have to come up with 5% additional export obligation. Okay, so this was the news, and that is all in this particular lecture. I hope it is pretty much clear to you all and there's no confusion. If it's still there, you can always ask in the comment section. Now the homework is, what is the export obligation for the duty free import of capital goods? That is the question, and these are the toppers of the last session. So Rahul Raj said the right answer. CEO Prasar Bharati Awas, it is Shri Gaurav Divedi. Ramuism said the right answer. Welcome Ravish. Ravish, I'll talk with the team if the PDF has not been provided yet. Okay, Salman said the okay, so Salman has asked me to make video on this, so here's a video. I hope now all the concepts are clear. And then we have Priya saying the right answer, we have Sumitra saying the right answer, Chetan is saying said the right answer, Exam said the right answer, Rishabh said the right answer, Shashwat said the right answer, Shiva also said the right answer. So kudos to all the toppers who are participating in this and preparing regularly, answering and preparing well for the examination. So that is all in this video, and if you want me to cover any scheme, the suggestions are always welcome. I'll incorporate the recent developments along with the basics of that, so that your concepts are clear and you are well prepared for examination. So we meet again in next video. Until then, all the very best for examination, and thank you.